Digital Audio Health by Symatrax.
Welcome to the Rhonda Grant Show with your host, Rhonda Grant. If you believe that there is more to life than what you see right now and you want to find out more, listen in as her guests share their journey and their extraordinary experiences. Now, here is your host, Rhonda Grant.
Welcome to the Rhonda Grant Show. Sometimes the universe has a way of placing people or obstacles in your path to help guide and direct you on your mission. Listen in as we discover the path my guest has traveled. Has she been inspired by a calling, crafted her journey, or a bit of both? I invite you to embrace the conversation and to use it to help you to recognize if this is happening in your life. Our guest today is Michelle Hayward, who is a passionate astrologer, intuitive, and mentor who is committed to bridging the gap between real-life experiences and the wisdom of the cosmos. Her unique approach involves tapping into the intuitive heart and fostering a connection with the higher self. Welcome to the show, Michelle.
Thank you so much, Rhonda. It's an absolute pleasure and a joy to be here with you today.
Yes, I've been so looking forward to this and spending some time and learning more about you and your journey. Let the audience know where you were born, not really where you were born, you can, and where you grew up, and a little bit about your background.
Okay. I grew up on the outskirts of Sydney. And back in that time, when we didn't have all the big freeways and, all these fast lanes that we have today,
Yes.
it used to take us about an hour to get to Sydney. So that was kind of considered on the outskirts of Sydney.
Yes.
But today, you can actually get there a lot quicker than that. We have all these tunnels and highways and things like that. So we grew up. There was my dad, who was a very hardworking bricklayer.
Yes.
Which I often think, how does anyone have that much endurance to work so hard physically all your life?
Mm-hmm.
I think you can do these things when you have a great love for your family, which my dad did.
Yeah.
So I think love can give you that endurance. Mum was a very hardworking, managing the day-to-day routines of raising 6 children.
Wow.
And things, of course, are very different to how they are today.
Oh, yeah.
To do the washing, it wasn't a matter of
putting a load in.
And pressing a couple of buttons. You physically had to put things through the wringer and,
yes,
all
they're
these
old
things.
wringer washing machines.
Yes. And it was sort of an environment where there was lots of people just sort of moved to this area. They were building a lot of building of new homes, sort of like a bush environment, sort of like that.
Yes.
And school, I went to a lovely school. I loved it because from the day I arrived at school, it was like, see you later, Mum, I'm off.
Yes.
And it was just great, socializing with new people and learning new things. And I think that's been a big part of my life.
Yes.
Is a great joy in learning and meeting new people and new experiences.
Yes. And so you've had a few different professions and you all in the service industry, though. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting how life plays out, and you'll see all these common threads and themes, isn't it, really?
Yes.
And like you say, working in the service industry, my first job was working in the bank, and I didn't really have I didn't know that's how life would start, actually, but it was really because I was talking to my friends and they'd say, if you want a job, go and apply at the bank, you'll get a job. I thought, oh, is it that easy? Great. Let's go. And again, that's very different to today. And so off I went, and I remember off I went to the big smoke, as we used to call it, and it would take me a good 2 hours to get there by public transport.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, I used to have to catch a bus to the train station, which would take about a good half an hour. And then it was like at least a good hour on the train, and, all the waiting and in between and all that. So easily added up to a couple of hours. And so, yeah, off I went. And this is a bit of a funny story. In the interview, they sort of said to me, oh, can you type? And I sort of gazed out the window and looked across all the buildings and thought, yeah, of course, yeah, I can. And they said, well, how many words can you type a minute? And I gazed out the window and I thought to myself, now, what's the right answer here? I said, 60 to 70, words per minute. And you wouldn't believe it. I got the job.
You did?
My first job was typing, and the boss was sitting right behind me at his desk, and I was going on the typewriter. It was definitely not 60 words per minute.
No.
But I got to say, I was a fast learner, and I learned how to type really fast with the boss sitting behind me.
Oh, yes. That's hilarious.
It was hilarious.
Yeah.
I think back and I think, oh my goodness, I was just such a cheeky little thing. Like,
oh yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. Yeah, you just, oh yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, no worries. And actually, it is a bit of a theme in my life where I go, yeah, I can do that. So anyway, from the banking, then I went into nursing.
Yes.
And I sort of spent about 7 to 8 years in each sector.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought after that, gee, what is it that I truly wanted to do?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, gosh, I always wanted to be a chef. So off I went. I went and did a few studies. And then it was about the year 2000. And we were going to have, just before the year 2000. And we had the Olympic 2000 Games coming up in Sydney.
Yes.
And I thought to myself, wow, I'm going to go and volunteer. And then I reconsidered my thoughts and thought, well, why don't I go and get a job and get paid for it? So here we go again. Off I went.
Yes.
Off to the interview. Thousands and thousands of people, went for the job interviews.
Sure.
And here I am. I've got a job working for this Sydney 2000 Olympics. I had no idea what I was going to do.
Right.
Anyway, so there was actually 3 of us. There was all the big chefs that were setting up, kitchens and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But there was 3 of us, myself, a Greek guy, and a guy from Africa, that we were just sort of for about 3 months, just, sort of cleaning up different rooms and this and that. It was pretty laid back and casual. Anyway, as things got closer to the Olympic Games, the big boss sort of come up to me and said, would you like a job, running the staff cafeteria? And I went, yeah, sure, I'd love to. So here I was. All of a sudden I had a new job.
Yes.
I was running the staff caf. And I thought, wow. So, I think these things come to us if we're open to the opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And here I was working at the Olympic Games. And it was just absolutely the best job I ever had.
Really? And so it must have been really busy.
Oh, it was. The first time I opened the staff caf, the staff diner, to all the staff, yes, we had something like 2,000 people come through the diner.
Wow.
It was my first time running a staff dining. Yeah.
So
and,
people
I
saw
loved
potential. Yeah, and people saw potential in you.
They sure did. And I just went along with it.
Yeah, and you didn't let them down.
No, I didn't. And so it was really being part of the atmosphere of, the games. It was just so exciting. And
Oh,
the
yes.
opening ceremony, I was able to poke my head out through a door and be able to get a glimpse of what was actually happening, and then run back to the kitchen and keep everything all happening.
Yes.
And then so I sort of followed in my parents' footsteps by by working really hard. I did lots and lots of long hours. Like
Uh-huh.
my weeks would begin with 8-hour days, and as I got towards the end of the week, the days become like 14 hours, and then to finish
Wow.
off my week, I'd finish like on a 16-hour shift.
Wow.
And I also did that, like with the nursing. I'd do something hours similar to 63 or 64 hours a week. I'd work all week and then I'd do double shifts, double shifts. I'd work
Yeah.
all day, work night,
Hmm.
and then do it the next day.
Yeah.
And I remember I couldn't even drive home once. I had to go and sleep in the car because I couldn't drive faster than 40 kilometres per hour. And so I think there was a really big um, work-life imbalance,
Hmm.
and it really led me down the path of questioning where I was going
Right.
and what life was really about.
Hmm. And so what was your
So
next step?
I then started looking more deeply into my soul
Yes.
through meditation. I started meditations,
Hmm.
and then really my world began to change.
Oh,
And I especially remember having this very, very deep connection with a horse.
yes.
I was standing outside in the paddock, and I just really felt this really strong connection with
Hmm.
this horse. And while I was standing there, I asked the horse this heartfelt question, and that was, is there any such thing as spirit? Straight after I asked that question, a tap just down the paddock a little bit started overflowing with water.
Ah,
And I thought to myself, whoa, that must mean something. And so I did a little bit of research. Thought, right, water, symbolizes things like cleansing, purification,
hmm.
regeneration. And as I looked further, I discovered it really did represent spirit.
Hmm.
And that was a major moment, probably life-changing moment, really.
Oh, yeah.
And so I began to meditation, and my intuition just sort of like opened right up. And I started to get a lot of messages from animal totems.
Hmm.
And I had never, ever experienced that before.
It's new.
And yeah, it was very new.
Hmm.
And I realized there was so much wisdom and knowledge in the insights of these totems. And in life experience, I started to get really a lot of synchronicities that began to happen.
Hmm.
And sort of following on from the story from, my experience with the horse, in one of my meditations, got an image of an eagle. I mean, an Indian man
Hmm.
with an eagle on its head.
Oh,
And I was really surprised by that. I thought, oh my goodness, what could this possibly mean?
hmm.
Anyway, I just continued on with my day-to-day things. And a few days later, I went down to this beautiful little crystal shop, and I thought, I'm just going to get myself, my first little crystal.
Yeah.
And as I was in the shop, I noticed on the counter they had these beautiful angel cards. And I asked the lady behind the counter, oh, have you got any more of these cards? And she said, yes, just in the back corner. So I thought, okay, I'll go and have a look. So I went over and I was looking for these cards. And then this book, I picked up this book, and on the cover was an Indian with an eagle on its head.
Wow. Wow.
And I thought, oh, this is a synchronicity for
Yes.
sure.
Yes.
And that book was written by Ted Andrews, and it was called Animal Speak.
Animal Speak. And from there, so did that give you sort of a funny feeling inside that things are connected? And did you start to contemplate that this meditation was providing a window into your life that maybe was always there, but you didn't recognize, or maybe this was new?
I think it gave me a different understanding, because I always believed in, that there is definitely a higher power than myself.
Yeah.
There is definitely a guiding force. And I began to really understand that nature, all forms of nature, is communicating with us all the time. And nature in its many forms, whether it's through the minerals, crystals, whether it's through animals, whether it was through cosmos, we are all interconnected, and we are definitely not separate. And I really understood at a much deeper level that we are definitely spiritual beings having a physical human experience. So we just didn't live in this physical world. It was so much greater than that.
And you must have felt sort of a comfort in that now that you've come to a realization that meditation, because meditation really opens a door to a window you hadn't seen before or noticed, and puts things in your path. It's who is directing who, almost, right? But you had a thought of intuition and you headed to that store, and there you got the confirmation. And so I'm fascinated when it happens in my life, and I'm fascinated when it happens in other people's lives too. So what did you do then? Did you continue to meditate and say to yourself, boy, like this is happening, this is really getting my attention, and what else can I co-create, right? You're co-creating with the universe because it's sending you and opening a door for you that you may not have come across.
Definitely. With the meditation, I found that I could very easily get to a place of complete stillness. And I actually feel that's where the magic and the connection and all the insights and the wisdoms come from, that place of absolute stillness. And then I realized that it was that connection, which we all have the ability, if we are quiet and still enough, to have that connection. That it was really a guiding light. And really that connection is really actually connecting to love, because it's connecting to that heart space.
Yes.
And that's how I really live my life. And I come up with my own little philosophy, and it is to be still, to be receptive, which means being open and allowing flow. And that's allowing things to play out exactly the way it's meant to. So that really comes from a place of having faith and having trust, in the bigger realm of things. And so through my meditations, I was able to get animal totems as a guidance. I soon realized that you could ask questions and get answers.
And get answers. Yeah,
Yes,
isn't that remarkable?
it is. I mean, it's really no different than setting an intentional or saying a prayer and asking for help.
Okay.
Um, you know, but I was getting it through animal totems and different symbols,
Mm-hmm.
and through all the synchronicities that began to happen that really just reinforced that connection
Mm-hmm.
to that higher force, that higher energy.
Mm-hmm.
And, there were so many great stories, like the time
Yeah.
when my
Yeah.
husband had kidney stones,
Yes.
and he was rolling around on the couch in agony. And I said, "Oh, um, I'll ring the ambulance." And he said to me, "Oh no, don't ring the ambulance." So even though he's in agony, and I felt terrible because I didn't feel like I could do anything to help him,
Yeah.
and I didn't want to override what he wanted. So I thought, okay, just go with the flow with this. And I thought, oh, I know what I'll do. I'll ask Spirit for help here.
Yes.
So I ducked around the corner and I was, getting out a thermometer so I could check his temperature. And I put it on, and a strange number came up on the thermometer. And so I thought, let's check out what this number means. So I did a quick little search on the numerology and what it meant.
Uh-huh.
And the message was that an imminent decision was, coming. So I thought, great, okay, we'll get, an answer on this. It's either going to be, yes, we're going to ring the ambulance,
Yeah.
or it's going to be something else. So I went and sat next to my husband, and I was, asking for a lot of help for him to overcome, the situation. And I must have just said the right thing because he goes, ring the ambulance. And as I was sort of sitting there and sort of asking for help, I got this image of Superman, and I thought, oh, okay, he's going to be fine. But sometimes when, I'd get these insights, it would be validated, you know,
Mm-hmm.
um, not long after, which is exactly what happened in this situation. I went to
Mm-hmm.
the hospital and I met his roommate there, and I said hello, and I said to him, "What's that on your T-shirt?" He said, "Oh, Superman." And that's when I realized, I thought, oh, everything's going to be fine. Nothing to worry about.
Yes. And you talked about letting things unfold, letting things happen. And many times, and this is our humanness, we want to interfere. We want to
Mm.
take charge when we start seeing things like that. And so it's a really good teaching just to let things happen, just to see what else is going to be revealed to you. And I'm really curious about you being able to take that number that they gave you and pop it into a chart and get some direction.
Well, what I did there is you can sort of look up all these sort of, doesn't matter what symbol it is, whether it's new in numbers or symbols.
Yeah.
I think probably one of the great things of having all this information at our fingertips these days, like with the
Yes.
internet, there's amazing websites and,
Yes.
searches that
To
you can
help
do
us. Yeah.
to help us to understand what the
Mm-hmm.
symbol meanings and the deeper insights and that can be. So I think having this information at our fingertips they can be used in a great way.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful.
Um,
So, how did this lead you into astrology?
I've always loved astrology.
Yes.
And I think it was just another natural progression.
Uh-huh.
And so I studied the astrology, and I was quickly amazed at how there's so much wisdom and knowledge in anyone's astrology chart.
Mm-hmm.
I think, again, it's just another way of connecting the dots.
Yes.
And a great example is I have Jupiter in my first house,
Yes.
and being on the ascendant. So this is going to be a very strong identity, people would recognize me by.
Mm-hmm.
And Jupiter is about good luck.
Ah,
He's planet of good luck, expansion, growth, and quite jovial and cheerful and all that. And I do have that way about me,
mm-hmm.
Not much is going to knock me down for long because, I kind of feel like it's a great blessing to
Yes. Oh,
to be
yes.
able to, look on the brighter side of life. Because I understand, not everyone looks that way.
No.
So, and in regards to my amazing opportunity for the Olympic Games, my chart at that time, Jupiter played a very prominent role, and good luck and absolute good fortune.
Mm-hmm.
And I really feel like Jupiter was really reflected in my world during the Olympic 2000 Games. And Jupiter comes around every 12 years,
Oh,
and I'm having what they call a Jupiter return. And I am finding that luck and opportunities are just coming to me. And knowing, that is the case, I'm not missing any opportunities at the moment. So,
good.
now I was going to say, oh yeah, and that's just one little example. And really another amazing story is a fellow astrologer who has a very prominent Jupiter connection as well.
Uh-huh.
A friend applied to put her into this TV show, which was a quiz show. Now, she wasn't described herself as an introvert, and she thought going on TV, she didn't think that was a great idea. But she
Uh-huh.
looked at her chart and she had Jupiter in a great position of being able to win money. So
Oh,
she thought, you know what, I'm going on the show. She did. And guess what? She won. She won all this money on this show that
yes.
somebody else, put her, applied on her behalf for this show. And she took the opportunity. But I've discovered that looking at the chart
Mm-hmm.
um, can really help you understand your life experiences.
Oh, yes. It's almost like we're here and there's something mapped out for us that signifies the day that we were born, the time we were born, and how we have all these opportunities in our life that we don't even know about. We're operating here without one of the most important maps, I believe, in our lifetime. And if that woman did not realize or check that, she wouldn't have went on the show. And, so if you have a map that you can refer to based on your birth time and your date, you're going to be able to recognize them like you recognize that you had put the masked person and the book together, that meant something. And I think that if we all were equipped with that knowledge that you hold to let people know and guide them through their life, it's so invaluable. So, talk to us more about the different planets and what they might mean.
Yeah, sure. Let's start with the sun. For example, the sun
Yes.
is really our core identity.
Mm-hmm.
When you think of the sun, it's a life force energy, isn't it?
Oh, yes.
It keeps all of life, you know, full of energy, able to, live and survive, really.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, a lot of people just think that a lot of people will know what their star sign or sun sign is.
Yes, from astrology. Yes.
Yeah, through astrology. Just like the human body, we're not just, an arm, a leg. We have organs that, all talk and speak, and and connect and make us a whole.
Yes.
So even though the sun might be our core identity, it can be in various signs, and there's 12 different signs of the zodiac, and they all play out very differently. You know, for example, a sun in Sagittarius is going to be it's ruled by Jupiter, so it's going to have this very joyful, happy, generous, sort of outgoing sort of energy about it. It wants to understand the world. It wants to see the bigger horizon. It loves to look at the big picture. You know, say the sun in Gemini, for example. It's going to be a very curious energy. Who will want to learn and learn about new things, who will love to connect with other people, because it's like the little butterfly, you know, of the zodiac. It sort of loves to go here and it loves to go there. It's about movement. So that's just one little aspect. We have the sun, and then we've got the moon, which is our emotions.
Yeah.
For example, someone who may have the moon in Cancer. The sign Cancer is about the home. It's about nesting. It's about nurturing. So, you know, if you were to look at the moon is also the mother archetype. So if you had somebody with the moon in Cancer, for example, they would be a real homebody. And I can see this in my husband, because he has the moon in the sign of Cancer, and it's very funny. He loves to stay at home.
At home.
And before we even leave home, his comment is, "I can't wait to get home." And I have to remind him that we actually haven't left yet.
He's just
so
drawing.
hilarious.
Yeah. And we have these traits about us that we don't even understand ourselves why we have them, unless we take that journey to find out, right?
Yeah. So it gives you a deeper understanding where you come from.
Yeah.
But it also shows how you've evolved in life as well. There's different types of charts, so what we call a progression chart. We can see that perhaps, say, your sun started off in Sagittarius. It's now moved to, say, Cancer, which explains why, you know, we may operate and even feel different today to then when we were, say, a child. Because the energies shift, and that all shows in your chart. So it's like a diary. It's a great diary.
Okay.
It's like, you know, you can go back and read your diary, where you've come. It can show your foundations of life, you know, what the home life was like when you were growing up. It also is a clear indicator on where you would really shine in, whether it's a working profession or whether it's from the perspective of your soul purpose.
Right.
So I found it is just another part of nature's knowledge and wisdom.
It's so informative. And of course, there's a lot of people who will check their horoscopes each day sometimes. And you can check it online, I guess.
Yeah.
And it does help people to say, oh, you know, I have to be careful today. But there's other things that are going on in the galaxy that does affect us. And those are when planets are in retrograde and different things like that. And so what we have to be careful about during that time, and every sign, I understand, is affected differently by different planets. And so do you know about that science of the planets and how they affect us?
Well, just like the sun really affects our life force energy, there's nothing to say that all these other planets can't affect our life force energy.
Yes.
if the sun affects, as we all know, the moon can affect our emotions
Oh,
at a
yes.
full moon.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been fascinating to follow the moon phases as well. Like,
Yes.
we have the new moon. And again, it's if you look at the way nature is, you know, you plant a seed. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what we do at the new moon. We're planting a seed. You can't
Yes.
actually see how it's going to unfold
No.
at that point, because when you look at the moon, at the new moon, there's not a lot of light, is there?
Mm-hmm.
And then as we get more moonlight and we've got in conjunction with the sun, the plants begin to sprout and we begin to see where we are heading.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have to apply action and motion and intention to create,
To create,
um,
yes.
you know. And then, the first quarter moon is going to test our commitment to that intention.
Okay.
Are we committed? And sometimes this is when a few little obstacles and
Yes.
challenges, you
Yeah.
know,
Can arise for us, and we don't understand why these are in our path. But
exactly,
yeah, but it's the energy. And
absolutely.
mm-hmm.
And then if you go, okay, we're in this first quarter phase.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I need to sort of step back a little bit, you know, be clear on where I'm heading and be
Mm-hmm.
committed.
Right.
And so you keep your journey going. And then we get to the full moon and
Yes.
we've got so much light, don't we? So the light is really there for us to look and see how everything is going. Is it
Mm-hmm.
really working out? Am I really still committed? Do I need to make some changes or do I need to let go at
Mm-hmm.
this point? And then we got the last quarter moon, and it's like that last burst of energy of getting to the end of our goal, and then we start the cycle again,
All over again.
you know,
Mm.
all over
It's
again.
yeah, it's such a great teaching. If the moon can pull the water from the shore and put it back, that is pretty incredible. And so if it can do that, it is also pulling us in a way. And I'm really fascinated by that. And I've talked with people at the hospital and I've asked them, are they quiet sometimes? And then one night we're really, really busy. And they said, absolutely. There is a movement of energy that happens that we don't even realize unless we become curious. And we all know that, oh, the full moon's coming. Babies are born on the full moon. When I ran a retail store as an entrepreneur, and it was Grant's Tile and Bath. And it was, selling bathroom items as well as tile. And we also did renovations. And so often I would sit at the desk and nobody would come in the store. And I would do work that I had to do because running a business, there's lots to do. And then one by one, people would started coming in the store. And a couple hours later, everybody would leave. Like there'd just be a wave of people coming and a wave of people leaving. And so I thought, is this just an isolated occurrence? Because I had never worked in a retail store. Or is this something that I can pay attention to and watch? And it was like a rhythm. And you'd think, okay, but people came at lunchtime or they came after work. It didn't matter if it was lunchtime or whatever it was. It was almost like people all, said, we need to get some tile and have our bathroom, the tile around our bathtub redone or something like that. And then all those people, it's almost like other people who were thinking about that reinforced it. And then they all came into the store at the same time. And I was running the show myself. And, I think that when we start paying attention, and sometimes we don't know what we're to pay attention to, right? Well, what am I to pay attention to? And I think that the more meditating, the more conscious you become, there's lots that you start to see that you never saw before. And you wondered, Was that happening and I just didn't see it? Yeah, that's what was going on. So can you
That is,
attest to that?
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, it's so interesting because, again, if you think of the sun, it moves slowly around through all the zodiac signs, doesn't it?
Yes. Yes.
So, I find, for example, when the sun is, say, in Virgo,
Uh-huh.
people start cleaning up their homes, get decluttering. They start doing a spring clean.
Okay.
When the sun is, I'm just trying to think here, other big things that happen. Well, we've got all the different sort of meaning of the houses, which, can bring
Yes.
in, what you were describing. Lots of people doing similar things at the same
Same
time.
time. Yeah.
So what that tells me is a lot of us responding,
Yes.
but not joining the dots that, with, say, the cosmos,
Yes.
that this is happening because of, these alignments.
Yes.
And, you know, in regards to what you're saying about the tide coming in and the tide going out,
Mm-hmm.
if you think about it, we're 70% water.
Yes.
So why wouldn't, we
We
have
be
this?
impacted. Yeah.
And again, this is another amazing gift and tool that you can use timing to, for important events by looking at, okay, where are the planets? What's going on? Because, sometimes we may start a project, but if the tide's coming in, well, the project doesn't matter how hard you're trying, the project's not going to go very far. And, I've seen this time and time again. And,
Yes.
with, planets in retrograde,
Uh-huh.
for example, it's actually not the best time to start something new
Mm-hmm.
because retrogrades are about, you think of the word
Mm-hmm.
reevaluate. It's all about going back and looking at things because the planets are in a much slower motion,
Uh-huh.
which, so for example, you might find, a shop front and it's for lease.
Yes.
It wouldn't be the best time to go and start a new business because it would only last short term.
Okay.
And there's been examples of that,
Mm-hmm.
It might be the perfect location, you might have the perfect business,
Yes.
but it just doesn't line up.
Mm-hmm.
And then it sort of fizzles out. Say we had a Venus retrograde.
Yes.
It's like having rose-colored glasses on. You're
Yeah.
actually not seeing that well. So, Venus is all about beauty and love.
Yes.
We might come meet somebody new and think they're it because we've
Yeah.
got these
What's your
rose-colored glasses
the
on.
rose-colored glasses?
And
Okay.
you get to the end of the Venus retrograde and look back and go, oh my goodness, what was I thinking? And
Oh,
there's
that's why
stories
that
and
happens.
stories like
Okay.
this.
Yeah, that's what
And
happens.
yeah, so you don't go and change your hair color because Venus is about design, artistic
Yeah.
abilities. So
Yes.
it's not the time to go and say, yay, I'm going to go and change the style of my hair and the color because you'll get to the other end and go, oh my goodness,
What have I
what was
done?
I
Yeah.
thinking? You're just not seeing clearly. So it is. It's pretty amazing. It's pretty interesting.
Yes, especially when you have your individual chart done. You're listening to the Rhonda Grant Show right now, whose podcast has been treated with digital audio health by my sponsor, Symatrex. And today I am speaking with Michelle Hayward. Michelle, please let the audience know how they may reach out to you should they want to have their chart read.
Sure. There's a couple of ways of doing it. There's
Yes.
my website, which is Michelle Hayward, astrologer.com.
Yes.
I do have a Facebook group, which is called Reclaim Intuitive Heart Energy Collective.
Yes.
Bringing people together, with tapping into our intuitive heart and letting our heart guide us our way.
Beautiful.
And of course, I've got my Facebook personal page, which is Michelle Hayward. Oh, and also Spotify. I have a Spotify show, which is
Yes.
called Be Still, Be Receptive, and Flow.
Nice.
And a few little episodes there, which sort of talks a bit about each of those things. And on the end of each of those episodes, I have a meditation which I've created, which is relating to the topics of co-creating with the heart.
Yeah.
There's a lovely grounding tree one, and the other one is about letting go and being free and flowing in life. So they're the few main areas that people can
Beautiful.
reach me on.
Yeah. What extraordinary discovery have you found in your life?
Oh, that we are so much more than we believe or think that we are. Every word, thought, feeling, emotion has energy.
Yes.
And we are truly the co-creators of our own life. And the best way to do that is to come from the heart and to connect deeply to your true essence and to the wisdom of the universe and wisdom of, the great spirit, the inner force that is there guiding us in many, many ways. I think that's really important. There's many ways that we get guided on our path and on our journeys. And it is like riding a magic carpet sometimes.
Yes.
And it's when you're in the right place because all the joy of all the synchronicities are there for everyone to really experience.
Beautiful. Just beautiful. Do you feel that you've been called to what you're doing today?
Definitely. I know that life never goes in a straight line. And
People want it to.
Yeah,
Yes.
we all want it to go in a straight line. But there's always, it's a balance between stability and instability. And we do see that happening around us in the world today. And I've learned that you need to take yourself out of the chaos and to really be in that stillness. And if you can do that, and if you really take the time to do that, we are always guided. And, not just for ourselves, but we can help others on their pathway as well.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Absolutely. We want certainty until we're bored with our certainty. We want to stir things up to get some uncertainty into the mix, only to pray that it would go away so you're on the other side and more comfortable, right? On the other side
definitely.
of uncertainty, which again is certainty, and then get bored with that,
Oh, yes.
But, I've really enjoyed our conversation, and I'm a true testament of the work that you've done for me on my charts. I was astounded with what I learned about myself that I knew about myself, but it was such confirmation, and it really anchored me into attributes that I knew that I had, but I almost had to be reaffirmed. And I don't mean by a coach or anything like that, but the chart that you did to me really opened a window into a life that I've been living and not realizing that everything has been aligned for me. And now that I know that, I really feel that I can really honor those gifts that I've come with and appreciate them and just move towards them, knowing that that has been my birthright. And I recommend
Yes.
that everybody really think about doing this type of activity with Michelle, because as you can tell, she's very kind and warm and loving, and she knows her stuff, and she knows how to present that to you in a way that's going to be significant in your life's journey.
Wow, thank
So
you.
you're welcome. So thank you very much for being on the show. I really enjoyed our conversation as always. And boy, it's I find it fascinating that with Zoom, we can reach people all over the world. And when you said Sydney, you mean Sydney, Australia, is where you were born and raised. And so I never would have met you maybe in a million lifetimes if it was not for Zoom, which, it's all outreaching and connections. And I was connected to you by another guest that I had on the show. And so I value you, I value your presence, and I thank you very much.
Well, it was absolute pleasure to meet you, Rhonda, hearing your podcast, your stories,
Yes.
and seeing that there's, the similarities that were there. And I think the universe has this way of bringing really the right people into your life at the right time. And it really, everyone is truly interconnected, and we all are helping each other on this journey.
We're all
and I
helping
just
each
think,
other.
how amazing is that? And with all this technology that we have,
Yes.
It's so exciting, and it really, used all in the right ways, is an amazing tool.
It sure
So,
is.
yeah, I feel blessed that we have crossed paths, and I'm sure that we will still continue to connect
Oh,
and
yes.
and interact in many ways.
Thank you. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Rhonda.
Theme song for the Rhonda Grant Show is Sun on the Water, composed and performed by my friend John Park Wheeler. This is Rhonda Grant with the Rhonda Grant Show, author of Magical Forces Within, Extraordinary Discoveries in an Ordinary Life, inviting you to look for the magical forces within yourself today and every day.
Thanks for tuning in to the Rhonda Grant Show with your host, Rhonda Grant. If you would like to find out more information about Rhonda and her upcoming guests and the work that she does, go to her website, rhondagrantauthor.com. That's rhondagrantauthor.com.
Digital Audio Health by Cymatrax.